Hey BookTube, this is Friday Reads. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and man, did I read some great stuff last week. In fact, I'm so sad that it's over and I don't want to leave the world of the series that I read that was so great. So I'm going to keep going. So let me tell you about what I read. I'll start off with Phantom Pains. This is by Mishell Berger, and it is book 2 in the Arcadia Project series. It is narrated by Arden Hammersmith, and I really, really like her narration. There were only a couple of times that I thought I would have phrased that differently, but you know, I was so invested in the story that I completely forgot about the narration, which is as it should be. That is the trademark of a great narrator, that they get you so involved in the story that you don't even think about them. I mean, you don't think about the fact that you're being told a story. So, high marks to Arden Hammersmith for the narration. The story was good. It's a continuation of a series that combines the fantasy, with crime and kind of a crime mystery kind of story. And the main character is a woman who tried to commit suicide and threw herself off a building and crushed her legs, and as a result has lost one leg, I think mid calf, and the other leg right below the knee. So she has prosthetics, and she walks with a cane, and so her disability is prominent in the story, and I think that's really kind of a cool thing. And so it's just more of a continuation of the same that was started in the first book. And so, you know, you can read the synopsis, but I liked it a lot. I really had a good time with the story, and I'm continuing to enjoy it, and it gets more complicated. She spent a little bit of time in the Fae world this time, and that was kind of different because in the last book it had been her introduction to the whole thing, and it all happened in our world. But I think the next book is probably going to take place largely in the Fae world, which is going to be really interesting. So great characters, really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. Then I picked up Caught by You. This is by Jennifer Bernard, and it is book 2 in her Love Between the Bases series. And I picked it up on Kindle because I wanted to read it with my good friend Lisa from Books and Smiles, and we did. It's new adult romance. I don't know, it was okay. It wasn't great, it wasn't terrible. It was enjoyable to read, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. Then I picked up Dear Life by Meghan Quinn, and I read this as an ebook also with Lisa, and it is about 4 people, not couples, 4 people who have all experienced tragedy or great change to some degree or another in their lives. And they find out about a program called Dear Life. And so it's the story of these 4 people and how their lives intertwine and how they pair off. And I think that it was angsty in spots and a little over much, and the romances happened relatively quickly, and in one case a little bit unrealistically, but you know, it was an enjoyable read, so I have to give it marks for that. So 3 stars there. And then I picked up Until the End of the World, which is a 3.5 book series by Sarah Lyons Fleming and narrated by Julia Whelan. I read this, I can't remember, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, something like that, and loved it. It is adult zombies in the zombie apocalypse. And okay, first of all, Julia Whelan, I go hot and cold on her, but she was brilliant in this. I sped her up and it was perfect. And you know what? She's a really talented narrator. And I think that the reason I go hot and cold with her has much more to do with my personal preference as narrators go than it does about her ability to narrate. She is really good. She seriously is really good. So, brilliant narration. This series, why are more people not raving about this series? It's so good. It's told in first person, and it follows Cassie, who is a person who lives in New York City, and she's the daughter of preppers, who are people who prepare for the apocalypse and are, you know, at the ready in case it happens. Her parents have died in a car accident. She was engaged to a boy or a guy. Yeah, it's a guy. She's 28, I think. And so she kind of shuts him out and breaks off the engagement because she's dealing with the grief of her parents' death. And so the zombie apocalypse happens. And she and a group of friends have to get out of New York City. And so they do. And then, of course, you know, the story goes from there. The thing about Sarah Lyons Fleming and this series is that she's not afraid to surprise you, which I couldn't get over how unpredictable this series is. And I couldn't get over that the first time I read it. And even the second time I read it, what I knew was going to come still had me tied up in emotional knots, because that's how she writes. That's how this story goes. You get so invested in these characters. And there are a lot of side characters, secondary characters, who figure prominently in the plot, and she kills them off because it's the zombie apocalypse and not everybody's going to live. So it's very realistic in that way. Well, of course, you know, the main character doesn't die, but still, oh my gosh. And the way it ends is completely upside down from the way it begins. So good. Every one of those books were 5 stars. They are Until the End of the World, So Long Lollipops, which is book 1.5. It's a novella, and After, and then All the Stars in the Sky. And I just loved it. I finished that last night, and I am not ready to leave that world yet. So I am going to pick up the follow-up series to that, which is kind of a companion series in that it is set in the same world. It's called The City. The series is called The City. The book is called Mordacious. Also, again, by Sarah Lyons Fleming, but this time it's narrated by Therese, Plummer, and Luke Daniels. So right there, I love those narrators. I know it's going to be great. I know it's going to be good. It's set in New York City, which is why the series is called The City, and it follows the brother of the main character in Until the End of the World. And he is going back to find her, and I don't know where he's coming from. So anyway, I'm really, really looking forward to that. And I will be starting it as soon as I can get it downloaded and onto my non-romance iPod. So I'm gonna read that, and then I am halfway, maybe a little less than halfway through Desire After Dark. This is by Marie Force. It is book 15 in the Gansett Island series. And I have one more book to go before I'm completely caught up with that series. And it's a good thing because I'm getting tired of it again. I took a long break. I read it last year. And then I took a long break and then picked it up again. And now I'm almost caught up. Marie Force has, well, first of all, the book is on audio. All these books are on audio. But I don't like the narrators. They did switch them up a little bit, but no, I still don't like them. So she has the style, I guess would be what you'd call it, of bringing in characters from previous books into the current story. She focuses in on a couple, but it's very predictable. It happens the same way every time, so you know what's going to happen. She has said that she has lots more characters to write new books about in this series. Now, the thing is, I don't know how she's going to do that if she's got all these characters, 15 books worth of characters that she touches on and brings back in from time to time in the new story. That's a lot of characters. That's a lot of characters. So I'm sure she'll pull it off, but I'm glad to be kind of catching up with that. I'm ready to be done with it again for a little while. So I have one more book to go, book 16, which is Light After Dark, and then I'll be done. And I don't even know if I'll pick it up right away. I might wait until she writes a couple more books and then pick it up then. So yeah. This weekend is our 4th of July weekend here in the US. It's Independence Day, which we celebrate with lots of fireworks and barbecues and hot dogs and hamburgers and potato chips and apple pie and all of that. It's kind of the height of summer for us, and so feel free to borrow our holiday and party all you like. If you don't live in the US, we won't mind a bit. Won't mind a bit. So let me know what you're reading this weekend. And also, if you've read any of the books that I talked about, I want to know what you thought of that. And let's talk about all of it in comments. And that is it for now for me. So have a great weekend. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.